Do you remember what you wanted to be when you were growing up? Or maybe for some of you, what do you want to be when you grow up? My dad still asks that question. What will I be when I grow up, finally? For me, I tended to oscillate between a few different ideas. An astronaut, the military, maybe president. But being a professional athlete was especially captivating and enduring for me. I still have a list of basketball goals that I created in the 7th or 8th grade. At the top of that list, it says, to be the best. And it included such things as left hand as good as right hand, vertical high enough I can about dunk, I wasn't getting too carried away, shoot great, be able to take anybody at basketball. Small goal right there. Undaunted by the height of NBA players, or high schoolers for that matter. Not only playing basketball, but being the best was captivating, which I don't think is all that uncommon. Maybe it's in different areas, but the human spirit often, maybe even naturally, aspires for greatness. In the gospel, Jesus didn't deny this or correct it, but he said, if anyone wishes to be first, not you shouldn't want to be great or first, but if anyone wishes to be first. The disciples had been discussing who among them was the greatest. They believed Jesus was the Messiah, the promised king, which they mistakenly understood gave them special privilege. Who was the most privileged? The highest up on the royal ladder, they were asking. Now, but look at what Jesus did. He reframed the question. It's like what he did with the story of the Good Samaritan. Remember that encounter? A scholar of the law approached Jesus to test him and said, which is the greatest of the commandments? And Jesus said, well, you should love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, spirit, and your neighbor as yourself. And then wishing to justify himself, the man said, well, who is my neighbor? Who must I treat in this way? And who do I not need to, because they don't qualify as such? No, that's not the question. At the end of the parable, after talking about those who passed by the injured man, and then the foreigner, the Samaritan who cared for him, Jesus asked, which one was neighbor to the man? Which one was neighbor? What does it mean to be a neighbor? Not who do I have to, but what does neighbor mean? Who performed acts that qualified him as a neighbor? Who is the greatest? No, that's not the question, Jesus says. Greatness is a function of service, of self-forgetful love. If anyone wishes to be first, he shall be the last of all and the servant of all. It's not a function of stature or prestige, which was likely why Jesus placed a child in their midst, embraced the child, and said, whoever receives one child such as this in my name receives me, and whoever receives me receives not me, but the one who sent me. Beyond the affection of the family, a child in the ancient world had no social stature. But such a lowly person, Jesus is saying, can bear my presence and God's presence too. Don't think too highly of yourself. In fact, he seems to be saying, don't think of yourself at all. True greatness is the service of love, which points us back to Jesus, the Son of Man, who because of his loving yes to God and to each of us, was met with the world's no's, and the no's that have welled up in our own hearts. True greatness is that. There's true greatness. for there's true love. So maybe the question for us today is, where am I preoccupied with myself, my stature, my prestige? Where are you resentful of the service required of you by your spouse, child, parent, friend, stranger, parish? Where do opportunities exist for loving service that you have so far resisted? Things you know your spouse, child, parent would find helpful. Things for which they would be appreciative. And by doing them, you both might experience joy. Friends, nature does nothing in vain. You get hungry, and there's food to satisfy you. You're thirsty, and there's water. You're lonely, there's companionship. You desire greatness, there's a way to accomplish it, which, notice, doesn't depend on our fragile health, age, social stature, or financial power. For true greatness was embodied in the one who died young, without money or social clout. The question isn't who is the greatest, but is true greatness what you're pursuing, what your life is about?